You'll never be happy.
She said with a laugh, her face flashing through my mind. But that won't happen. I will be happy with Matt and the baby growing inside me. With that thought, I pushed through childbirth.
Sorry I'm late.
5 hours after giving birth. Just seeing him enter in a rush somehow made me feel relieved.
I'm glad you made it. Meet our daughter.
I said, showing our child to Matt. I thought he would be thrilled. But his reaction was far different from what I expected.
What? No, this can't be.
Matt,
Contrary to my expectations, Matt started trembling.
Why has this happened?
what's wrong? Did something happen?
Matt said. All I could do was feel bewildered by his reaction. At that moment, I realized that Matt wasn't looking at me or our daughter.
Matt, what do you see?
I asked, thinking his psychic abilities might be showing him something, actually. Matt began, struggling to explain. What he revealed next left me astonished. I am Amy. A 26-year-old engineer. And working mother. I was the youngest child born in a rural area, and was pampered by everyone around me. Of course, I was scolded when I did something wrong, and I believe I grew up to be a fairly ordinary woman.
Amy, you were always smiling and easy to care for.
My mother often said about me. Apparently, from a young age, I was always smiling and kept myself in good spirits. While my brothers were always bustling about, I was easygoing, which was a relief to them. At first, I didn't think much of it, but when I became a working adult.
You're the new hire who just joined, right? Would you like to chat for a bit?
It was then I met Matt, and came to understand the truth.
You might find this hard to believe, but I have psychic abilities.
He said. According to him, my ancestors always seemed to be smilingly watching over me. Honestly, I never believed in spirits. But I couldn't feel any deceit in his earnest expression.
Maybe those ancestors were the ones who cheered me up when I was little.
I said, recalling stories my mother had told me, and he laughed, "You have good ancestors." As we talked more, Matt and I grew closer.
If you're okay with it, Amy, would you date me?
Eventually, he confessed his feelings for me, and we started dating. His psychic sensitivity seemed genuine, sometimes he looked scared at nothing. But he said, being at your side is comforting, no evil spirits dare come near. According to Matt, the ancestors watching over me would protect us, so nothing bad approached us. Thanks to them, we could spend peaceful times together.
I also feel happy when I'm with you, Matt.
Then, why don't we get married?
And so, we decided to get married. His parents liked me too, and we had a peaceful married life. Although we are happy now, it was tough before we got married.
My dad's fine, but my sister Mary is a real handful.
Matt once said, explaining that his sister Mary could be quite troublesome. His father had always taken Matt's concerns seriously and had always been supportive. However, his sister, who was doted on by their late mother, seems to be different. She always needs to be the center of attention and is convinced her opinions are correct.
I've never really gotten along with my sister. I pretty much left home because it felt like running away.
Matt explained, his sister does not believe in spirits at all and has always called him a liar. As a result, they are at odds with each other.
My mom always spoiled her.
Matt added, his late mother adored his sister, indulging her without ever scolding her. Raised by such a mother, his sister developed a selfish personality, and their father also struggles to handle her.
Above all, my sister looks down on me. She might say something terrible to you, Amy.
It's okay, I won't mind whatever she says.
I assured Matt, though I felt a little worried. I've never had such people around me before. Though there have been people who spoke ill, I've kept my distance from them. But now, since she will be family, I can't just run away.
Honestly, my sister and I have grown apart, and you don't have to force a relationship with her.
Matt said, sensing my feelings and speaking kindly. His words and smile reassured me, and I nodded in agreement. To be with someone as kind as him is comforting. I was sure everything would be fine, that's what I thought at the time. And then, the day we went to introduce ourselves for the marriage. I was nervous as we visited Matt's family home.
You seem like a kind young woman. Please take good care of Matt.
His father said, a gentle man who warmly welcomed me. While I was relieved by his kind demeanor, similar to Matt's, suddenly, yuck, why is Matt here? A woman appeared before us. As soon as I saw her face, Matt's smiling expression turned to disgust.
Why are you even here today? You weren't supposed to be.
It's none of your business.
Watching their exchange, I realized she was the infamous sister.
Weren't you supposed to be shopping?
I realized I didn't have any cash on me. Dad, can I have some allowance?
Despite being an adult, Matt's sister was still asking her parents for money. While inwardly taken aback by this, her gaze turned towards me.
Who's this?
My fiancé.
What? You're getting married?
Her eyes widened, and I hastily introduced myself. Then, looking me over, Matt's sister scoffed, "Pfft, kind of dowdy, typical of Matt to have bad taste," and burst out laughing. I was so taken aback by her reaction that I froze.
She's so rude, Amy. Let's go home.
Matt said, pulling my arm as I was unable to respond. As we left, his sister laughed loudly, calling us cowards, while their father scolded her.
I'm really sorry about my sister.
Matt apologized profusely once we got back to our shared home.
Don't worry about it. I was just a bit shocked.
I reassured him, and he seemed relieved. His expression looked tired.
Matt, what's wrong?
Well,
According to Matt, it seemed that his late mother was behind his sister. He realized that his mother had always called his sister Dear Mary, and him the hopeless son. Understanding this made his mood worsen suddenly.
That must have been tough. Why don't you rest for today?
thank you, Amy.
He said, and then went into the bedroom. Watching his back, I could tell he was really tired.
It's unbelievable to favor one child so much over another.
When I first heard Matt's story, I couldn't believe it. My parents have always loved me and my siblings equally. I've never felt any disparity. So, the idea that someone would treat their children differently based on being a sister or brother was unimaginable to me.
But I can give Matt all the love his mother didn't.
I muttered to myself, deciding to love him more than ever before. Sometime after we had finished the introductions. Having visited each other's families, we are now busy preparing for our wedding. Still, we can't neglect our jobs. Therefore, I was also busy at work.
Hey, you there.
I stopped in my tracks as I was heading to the conference room when I heard someone calling out. It was Matt's sister. I had no idea she worked at the same company, and once again, I froze. Seeing my reaction, she smirked.
So, you work here too?
Thank you for the other day.
I managed to say, even though the meeting time was approaching and I couldn't skip greeting her. Just as I was about to leave after the briefest of greetings, she said.
What a waste of time that was, and to think you're a client.
Internally, I thought, are you serious? It appears she is the representative from the client we are about to have a meeting with.
Good to know. I look forward to working with you.
Yes, I look forward to working with you.
I managed to respond on the spot while listening to her boasting about how great she is as we headed to the conference room. However, her expression changed drastically during the meeting.
I have high expectations for you, Amy.
I've heard a lot about you. I'm glad we can work together.
My boss and her boss, who were also present, expressed their expectations for me. Normally, I would respond with full effort, but Mary's disdainful, yet so dowdy, comment made it hard for me to feel genuinely happy as she glared at me. Then her boss sighed deeply.
You should try to learn from her.
Right after that, I had a chilling look directed at me, filled with obvious disapproval and hostility. Faced with such a gaze for the first time, I found myself at a loss for words.
Is something wrong?
No, it's nothing.
I responded to the director and then looked back at my sister-in-law. She was no longer looking at me. However, I couldn't shake off a chill.
What? My sister at the company?
I immediately consulted Matt. He also seemed surprised to learn that his sister was with the client. His surprised expression turned to concern as he looked at me.
Are you okay? How are you feeling?
I was feeling chills earlier, but I'm okay now.
According to Matt, it seems that his late mother, who is attached to his sister, had marked me as an enemy. However, my ancestors had intervened to protect me. Amy, let's talk to our boss. Honestly, I'm not sure what my sister might do. Nodding at his words, we talked to our boss. We kept it professional, not mentioning what Matt had seen, and explained that we were about to become relatives by marriage. And that Matt was currently estranged from his sister.
Is that so? Amy is essential for this deal. I'll discuss this with the other side.
In this transaction, the app one developed is the main focus. Therefore, I absolutely must participate. On the other hand, it seems my sister-in-law was forced by her boss to come along.
She claimed she would make it a success, but honestly, her attitude was pitiful.
Because of this, the boss was already considering removing her from the project. As a result, my sister-in-law was excluded from this job, and our rift deepened.
I will never forgive you.
She was furious about this issue and tried to create problems for us.
Will you ever stop?
Not only did her father scold her, but she was finally kicked out of the family home. Thus, she had to hurriedly look for a new place to live, leaving her no room to bother us.
I will never celebrate your marriage, and you two will never be happy.
However, she wasn't the type to back down. Just before being driven out of the family home, she said this with a laugh. I couldn't help feeling a bad premonition about her.
Don't worry about my sister. I will make you happy, Matt reassured me.
And then, we got married. Contrary to his sister's words, we have been living a happy life. It was around that time when I got the news.
Congratulations.
I was pregnant. I immediately told Matt, our parents, and my father-in-law, and they were all thrilled. I was overjoyed, but it was tough. I had severe morning sickness and complications like potential breech. It was challenging, but I was determined to see it through. Normally, Matt would be there to support me, but he apologized. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry about it. You're working enough for both of us.
He was busy filling the gaps while I was out. This made it hard to rely on him as much as I would have liked. Ideally, I would have turned to my family back home, but being in a rural area made it difficult to see them often.
Impossible.
I thought, as my sister-in-law's words echoed in my mind. Could she have cursed me?
No, that can't be.
Even though I've come to understand spiritual matters because of Matt, I can't believe in curses.
Even if there were a curse, I would never let it defeat me.
I murmured, caressing my belly with determination. Thanks to that declaration, my child continued to grow safely. And finally, the day arrived.
Come on, Amy. You can do it.
The childbirth was incredibly difficult. My baby seemed reluctant to come out no matter how many hours passed. I clenched my teeth and endured, nearly losing consciousness.
You'll never be happy.
Her laughing face flashed through my mind as she had said those words. That won't happen. I'm determined to be happy with Matt and our baby. Thinking this, I gave birth with all my might.
Sorry, I'm late.
5 hours after giving birth. Just seeing him enter in a rush somehow made me feel relieved.
Well done. Meet our daughter.
I said, showing our child to Matt. I expected him to be thrilled. However, his reaction was nothing like I expected.
What? No, this can't be.
Matt,
Contrary to my expectations, Matt started shaking.
Why has this happened?
what's wrong? Did something happen?
Matt murmured this, leaving me bewildered by his behavior. At that moment, I noticed he wasn't looking at me or our daughter but somewhere else.
Matt, what do you see?
I asked, thinking his psychic abilities might be showing him something. Actually, Matt began, struggling to explain. The words he released shocked me.
Actually, my mother was here until just a moment ago.
Apparently, she had been trying to possess our newborn daughter. She had said, "I don't want the child of someone who torments my dear Mary." Despite trying to stop her, Matt lacks the ability to exorcise spirits. Therefore, he could do nothing but tremble helplessly.
At that moment, my father appeared.
I gasped in surprise at his words. He meant his father, undoubtedly referring to my father-in-law. However, my father-in-law is supposed to still be alive.
That's why it makes no sense for him to have appeared.
Apparently, my father-in-law vanished along with my mother-in-law. That's why Matt muttered, "Why has this happened?"
I don't know the truth, but let's just be happy about our daughter's birth.
Matt said, gazing at our daughter's face, filled with loving kindness. Seeing him genuinely rejoice at her birth made me smile too. Then, the next day,
Matt, what's wrong?
Matt's face was pale when he came to the hospital room. His demeanor was drastically different from yesterday, and I asked in a panic.
My dad was in a traffic accident yesterday.
What?
The kind father-in-law who was eagerly waiting to hold his granddaughter. Involved in a traffic accident.
How are his injuries?
I asked, to which he shook his head.
He didn't make it.
Hearing this, my mind went blank. According to Matt, his father was the victim of a hit and run, and by the time a passerby noticed him lying there, he had already passed away. Moreover, it happened right before I gave birth, while I was struggling with labor pains.
It must have been Dad who helped us then.
It seems likely.
Considering how caring my father-in-law was, he must have been watching over me. Right then, my mother-in-law appeared, trying to harm our daughter.
My father-in-law must have protected us.
At my words, Matt nodded, his face tearful. His feelings must be more painful than I can imagine.
My dad protected us. Now it's my turn to protect you both.
Matt said, embracing me and our daughter. He had a determined look on his face, and his gaze was fixed above me. Perhaps he was seeing something I couldn't.
Matt,
Your ancestors have been teaching me a lot. It's time to settle things with my sister once and for all.
Why was he bringing up his sister? I would understand the meaning of this only months later. After that, we faced no major issues, and I was able to safely return home.
Welcome back, Amy and Kathy.
Matt greeted us warmly. Kathy is our daughter's name. A blend of sounds from Matt's and my own names. Our precious, beloved daughter. If there's anyone out there trying to harm our daughter, we will confront them ourselves. As we watched Kathy sleeping peacefully, I made up my mind.
Shall we go then?
yes, let's go.
We left Kathy with my parents for a little while and headed to a specific place.
What? Why are you guys here?
We had arrived at the company where my sister-in-law works. We had already gotten permission from a client to use a conference room for a discussion.
What do you want?
Our child was born recently.
Already looking displeased at seeing us, my sister-in-law's expression twisted even more.
Failed? Ha, what's that supposed to mean?
You were trying to harm our daughter as part of your revenge, weren't you?
At Matt's cold words, my sister-in-law shuddered. Likely because he had hit the mark. She is so proud and can't stand not being the best. Feeling that her pride was wounded by me, she schemed to hurt what is most precious to me, our daughter Kathy.
She wrongly believed I had sabotaged her and tried to take Kathy away from me, but my father stopped her.
After kicking out my sister-in-law, my father-in-law kept an eye on her, suspecting she might cause more trouble. He realized she was planning something harmful against me and Kathy and intervened to stop and persuade her.
Thinking of such a father as an obstacle, my sister probably thought she could even inherit something by getting rid of him.
At those words, my sister-in-law visibly shuddered. On the day my father-in-law had the accident, he had actually noticed my sister-in-law's actions and decided to confront her in front of the company. He told her, "Stop involving yourself in my son's family life, and to stop your foolish actions." Enraged, she hit him with her car on his way home.
You know I have psychic abilities, right? I learned a lot from my dad.
Matt had been informed by his father and realized he couldn't expose my sister-in-law's crime without further evidence. While I was hospitalized, he investigated everything.
It was hard to find proof, but we finally got it on a dash cam.
Are you saying it was recorded?
It was a video of our dad walking and your car speeding toward him.
Matt found the evidence with persistence, despite the police having missed it. He showed a copy of the evidence to his sister. Seeing it, Mary lowered her face and muttered, "Ah, this is the worst. Why do you and Dad always have to interfere?" she said. Then, she looked at us with annoyance.
It's always been like this. Mom always listened to me, but you two always interfered.
We had to interfere.
Matt retorted as he began to share his long-held feelings.
You took Mom's words. The world is all yours, literally, and have done whatever you wanted since we were kids.
As a child, it was normal for her to snatch toys from others. During our school days, she meddled with other people's boyfriends, constantly causing trouble. It was our father who had to clean up after her.
Because of you?
I was always known as that spoiled girl's brother, and despite only our family knowing about my psychic abilities, you spread rumors that I was a liar. You've been a nuisance since forever. The real trouble has always been you.
Because unlike you, my only lie was Mom.
You brought it on yourself.
Nobody wants to be close to someone who is selfish. Especially someone who causes them trouble.
Even so, Dad was trying to take responsibility until the end.
Now that he's gone, it's time for you to take responsibility for yourself. Matt declared sternly as he glared at his sister. Despite being intimidated, his sister glared back.
What are you talking about? If only Dad hadn't meddled.
He was just doing what a father should, by the way. What were you doing during Dad's funeral?
The funeral had taken place while I was in the hospital. I managed to pay my respects later, but she hadn't shown her face even once.
That's none of your business.
That's right. You're no longer any concern of mine.
At that, his sister looked shocked.
You're no longer my sister.
Ignoring his sister, Matt declared so. Afterwards, his sister was arrested for her involvement in their father's death. She might also face charges for resisting arrest.
Let's completely cut ties with her.
Matt suggested, and we decided to sever ties with his sister, now referred to just by her first name, Mary.
Are you sure she's your only family, isn't she?
My family is just my father, Amy, and Kathy.
Matt said with a smile. Indeed, Matt was not alone. However, I still had concerns.
She won't try to harm me or Kathy again, will she?
Don't worry, in the end, that woman can't do anything by herself.
Previously, even though their methods differed, his parents had protected her. His mother had devotedly looked after Mary's needs, arranging everything to ensure she would be okay, even after she was gone. His father, despite being angry with Mary's actions, could never completely turn her away and always ended up looking after her. With the loss of her parents, she's struggling to live on her own, overwhelmed by everything.
So, as long as we keep our distance physically, we should be fine.
Due to this incident, Mary was fired from her job. Apparently, she already had a poor reputation at her company.
An investigation revealed that she was stealing credit from subordinates and had insulting behavior and language.
As a result, no one defended her and she was dismissed. After that, we decided to relocate. The app One developed has been a great success, leading to the establishment of a new branch. I will head this branch, and Matt will join me there after his paternity leave.
I can't believe it's near my hometown.
This means I can rely on my family if needed. I'm looking forward to raising Kathy with everyone's support.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Matt said, his face seeming refreshed. Perhaps being freed from Mary has brought a change in his feelings.
By the way, what were my ancestors doing?
They were there to protect you, and your father was there too.
It seems even my mother-in-law couldn't surpass my father-in-law. Thanks to him, Kathy was born safely. Well, that might have led Mary to take matters into her own hands regarding my father-in-law.
I can't thank my father-in-law enough.
Just recently, his will was discovered. Perhaps he sensed something might happen. The will stated that Mary should not inherit anything. He wanted his assets to be used for Kathy's future.
It's our turn to protect Kathy now.
Yes, that's right.
Surely, my father-in-law is watching over her growth. For his peace of mind, we must protect her with our own hands. Matt and I made that promise. Afterwards, it seems Mary was sentenced to actual prison time. She made the news as the terrible daughter who committed a hit and run on her own father.
With this, she has no place left to go.
Even after her release, her face will be too well known everywhere for her to find a place to stay. Additionally, the family home is being put up for sale. Everyone around us has declared that they won't tell her where we've moved, so I can focus on raising Kathy without worry. While watching the news, I heard Kathy's cry. Hearing that, I smiled and went to her.
Amy, did you see the news?
Yes, I saw it.
Matt came home and, while holding Kathy, mentioned.
It seems she sent a letter to the company.
Really, that's unexpected.
Yes, they sent it to make sure we knew, just in case.
The contents of the letter stated that she was repentant and asking for help. Apparently, the letter was read and then torn up and discarded.
She has caused trouble and hurt people all her life. It's ridiculous to think she deserves help.
Matt said, and I nodded in agreement. Years later, as Kathy grows up healthily, Matt and I continue with our work-filled days, finding solace in her presence.
Mommy, guess what?
What is it, Kathy?
Grandpa says thank you.
I tilted my head, puzzled by her words. Kathy calls my father a grandpa, but the pronunciation seemed slightly off. And it was unlikely that my father would ask her to relay a message.
Kathy, where is Grandpa?
When I asked her, she pointed to an empty space and exclaimed, "Here." That moment reminded me of something my mother and Matt once told me.
Kathy is just like her mom.
I said, referring to how I was said to have been cheered by my ancestors. Similarly, it seems that Kathy is being watched over by her grandfather.
I should be the one saying thank you.
Mommy,
Let's have some snacks.
Kathy replied with a smile to my suggestion. Her smile gave me a sense of relief, once again.
So, Dad is still watching over us.
I mentioned to Matt when he returned home, and he murmured thoughtfully.
Let's all go visit him sometime.
I nodded with a smile at his suggestion. Kathy also responded with a cheerful yes. Then, during a long weekend a few days later, we visited the land where my in-laws' house once stood. Suddenly, Matt's gaze turned in a certain direction. Following his gaze, there was a ragged woman staggering along. The figure looked familiar, and I wondered.
Could that be Mary?
Probably.
Matt replied without meeting my eyes. Quickly losing interest. He lifted Kathy up with a smile. I glanced at the woman again and followed Matt. Later, I heard from a former colleague that it indeed was Mary.
She's juggling multiple jobs, just getting by day to day.
She seemed to be struggling a lot. Remembering her looking older than her actual age, I felt a twinge of sympathy. Matt would probably say there's no room for sympathy, though.
As they say, curse others and dig two graves. She might just be receiving her comeuppance now.
Her misfortune is likely to continue, as that is her retribution. Later, a former colleague told me she had been arrested for theft.
I should forget about her too.
I thought to myself to forget about Mary and focus on my own family's happiness. Which is what my father-in-law would also want.
Well, I need to work hard.
As the new branch manager, I have many responsibilities. Even though Matt helps me as my assistant, I need to put in the effort myself.
Also, I want to create a new app.
The app I'm envisioning is a game that even small children can play. I might have less time to interact with Kathy. Still, if she plays with the app one made, it might keep us connected. That's what I thought.
That's a great idea. Let me help too. It's a gift for Kathy, after all.
Matt said with a bright smile, seeming completely over the past issues. Motivated by his spirit, I resolved to work hard as well. Eventually, the app we created became popular worldwide.
I love this game.
Kathy said with a beaming smile. And we felt truly joyful. Recognized for our achievements, we both advanced further in our careers.
Maybe it's thanks to cutting ties, good things keep happening.
It's the result of our hard work.
True.
We started walking towards our happiness together. Years later, as I busied myself as the branch manager. Mama, Grandpa says you shouldn't overdo it.
Kathy relayed a message, reminding me of the balance I needed to maintain.
Oh, sorry, I said.
As Kathy still seemed to see her grandfather. Much like Matt does.
But he never appears in front of me, Matt remarked.
The only time he had seen his father-in-law was the day Kathy was born.
Maybe Grandpa's just shy, I suggested.
Perhaps.
After Matt's mother passed away, she appeared to him as a spirit, which really scared him. Knowing this, he speculated that his father might choose not to appear before him.
I wish I could meet him too, I murmured.
Just then, a breeze passed between them. As if to say he was there even if unseen.
Daddy, Mommy, hurry up.
All right.
Kathy called out with a beaming smile, and we both smiled back as we went to her.
Kathy is quite the tomboy, Matt noted.
Right now, she's clinging to us a lot because she's going to be a big sister soon, I added with a smile.
Sharing a look. We later went to the hospital where they discovered I was pregnant with our second child. We promised each other to make a happy life together with the new life joining us.